Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have our third and final expansion booster leader. It is the blue and purple Hannyabal Impel Down leader that we get, which is honestly really interesting. There's a lot of synergy with both the blue and purple side, but maybe not as much as I would want. But we're going to go over this leader in general. So we have the just new cards that we get from the expansion booster. We have two different deck lists that I've been testing, as well as an example game going over one of them. I've been doing a lot of testing on my live stream as well, and I did a full live stream of also just testing Hannyabal also, so if you guys want to check that out, it's linked in the description for both YouTube and Twitch for members and subscribers respectively too. So let's just jump on into it with the kind of leader itself. So it is Hannyabal, is Impel Down. It's our second Impel Down leader, with the first one being the Emporio with the end of turn kind of effect. It's blue. It's kind of like a little bit gimmicky in the sense that you have to be at 0 cards, but then you get card draw associated with it. So the new Hannyabal leader has this: at the end of your turn, you can return one of your cost 2 or greater Impel Down characters to your hand. If you do, set up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck as active. So it is ramp. Unfortunately, it's at the end of your turn, which is a little bit weird, but you do get the Dawn in active, which means that you do have access to using event cards with that new Dawn that you get, which is really nice. So I think that's kind of a bit of a balance for it, but it is really cool to have like ramp associated with the leader, and it's pretty easy to do, right? It turns your 2 cost Impel Down cards into essentially just ramp cards that you get to do for cheap or for free, right? So for the lowest cost, the 2 cost ones that we have are Domino and Prince Bellet. Domino is a blocker from set 2. You just essentially can play it for 2 and bounce it back to your hand. And then also Prince Bellet, which is the same thing. It's a 2k counter though, so that's kind of nice. It's blue, and it's a new card from the set. It has this Dawn times 1 when attacking. If you have 1 or less cards in your hand, you can return up to one of your up to 1 character the cost of 3 or less to its owner's hand. So not super great, but again, it being a 2k counter is really nice for this. So essentially in most builds you want to try to go second, and then you get to play one of these out on turn 1. You can find them pretty easily if you're running the full 8 of them. I didn't miss very often for it, and then you get that ramp for free. So you go from 2 to 3, and then you start your next turn at 5, which is really nice. So which is good if you're playing like a Magellan on curve afterwards. So I will say that there is kind of a bit of a disconnect, but also the more I look into it, it has more theming, right? The blue Impel Down cards are more of like the prisoners, and the purple are more of the guards. So it's neat that it has kind of like that color distinction between the two. However, it's a little bit upsetting just from a consistency standpoint. So we see this buggy looks at top 5 for only a blue Impel Down, and Hannyabal only looks for purple. We have like our 7-drop Emporio that only plays an Impel Down that's blue with a cost of 6 or less, so it can't play the Magellan. So it's a little bit unfortunate that the synergies are a little bit color locked, especially in a game that rarely color locks things, because I think that it would be very strong without being broken, but maybe not. I will say that I also do like running the Impel Down stage. It has the activate main. You can trash 1 card from your hand and rest the stage. Look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, reveal 1 Impel Down, regardless of the color, and add it to your hand. Then you can place the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order. So being able to get some more consistency off that is kind of nice. It's kind of like how the Germa Kingdom works too, and in the fact that there are some cases where you want to get to low hand sizes, so you get the card draw for the Hannyabal, which is a little bit trickier for this leader. So it's a fun card. I think it helps, but again, you will notice that there's kind of like this disconnect of like the consistency between the two, and it's kind of hard to merge both into a singular deck, but you can kind of make some synergies work. All right. Also, probably one of the stronger packages for this leader is specifically the Jailer Beast. So we have this Sadie, which is a 2k counter, has this on play to play Jailer Beast type character from your hand. Generically, you could use this to play it for on curve if you're at 3 Dawn to play out a 4 cost, which is kind of nice. The issue is that then you're playing this 3-drop 3k 2k counter that just kind of is stuck on the board, and then you lose later. So being able to bounce this back at the end of your turn with your leader effect is actually really strong and helps the deck out, and just the playability of this card in itself. You don't even have to lose any card advantage. It just means that you can play these Mino Jailer Beasts for 1 cheaper, which is really nice. And then we also have this new Mino Chihuahua, which is from the set. It's a 4-drop 5k rush card that also has the on KO. When it gets KO'd, you get to ramp a Dawn. So Honestly, just some really good synergy with this. I think most decks need to have like a little bit of a Jailer Beast package, unless you're just not doing a lot of the Impel Down package, but it's generally pretty strong. I think the Mino Koala is pretty good too, just because it's a blocker that you can play for 3, which is really good. Mino Zebra for Banish is great. Mino Tar I haven't really tried out as much, and Mino Rhinoceros has potential because you can also play this a little bit early as well, and if you need to put it back to your hand to get that ramp, you can do it too, so there's like some synergies with that, and the fact that Mino Rhinoceros lets you draw more cards is very good too. So I think all these are great in their own way, and they have a lot of potential for the deck. And then we also have a couple other new cards I want to just talk about real quick. Inazuma is probably one that is just very good. At the end of your turn, if you have 2 or less cards in your hand, you get to draw 2 cards. So you can sequence this in a lot of ways, but with your Emporial Leader, you could use it. So end of your turn, you go from 0 to 2, and then use Inazuma to go 2 to 4. So that's a lot of card draw in a game that really doesn't have a lot of card draw. So that's very strong for it. You can also play it off the 7-drop Emporio too, which is good. So you can go down to 3, have a way to discard 1 card from your hand, and then you go all the way back up to 4, so that's pretty good. So like being able to use this package and then discarding a card from your Impel Down stage, just fail to find anything, and then you go up to 4 is kind of nice. We also have this Gum Gum Champion Rifle, which is a new 1-cost event that is kind of good in Hannibal in the sense that you are able to, if you use your leader effect, you get 1 Dawn active at the end of your turn, which means you can use this for this Champion Rifle. It's a bit of a weird card. It says if your leader has Impel Down type, give it to one of your leader characters plus 2k power until the end of the battle. Then your opponent returns one of their active characters to their hand. So on theory, it can be really broken if your opponent doesn't know this card exists. It gets good. However, it's very easy to play around in a lot of ways, especially since your opponent gets to choose a card they put back in their hand. So generally, since we're not good at removing like 1 and 2 costs by like the mid game where it could be very impactful, they would just bounce a 1 or 2 drop back to their hand instead. So I think it's okay, but maybe not worth it in this deck specifically at times. It's just not. It doesn't get the value all the time, which is kind of the rough part. The trigger off life though is fine, and it's worth testing. But I think there are probably just other better 1-cost counters that exist that aren't this card. And then also we just have Army Wolf, which is just a 5/7 Impel Down. It's fine. It's what it is. I just want to mention it because it exists. There are some synergies with just being a 5-cost as well. But I think Magellan's just better in curve. But maybe you're just gonna play this 5/7 out, and if it doesn't get answered immediately, it gets a lot of value from just attacking as 5/7s. So, anyways, those are kind of just all the cards and kind of synergies I want to talk about. And let's just go to our example decks. All right, and here are my 2 example decks. This first one's probably a little bit more basic. I went through a lot of different variants during my live streams that I was doing, and I think, again, like my favorite thing about all these leaders from the expansion booster are they're really open-ended. They're kind of like the first multicolor for a lot of different archetypes that generally have one color or the other. So Hannibal being able to kind of have this bridge the gap between blue and purple is really cool. Odin, the same thing with Wano as well. So there's a lot of ways to build this, so don't think this is the only way. But my biggest thing that I noticed was that like I wanted that early ramp, but then late game I kind of didn't have like the board control that I wanted to be able to get stuff or spend the time or Dawn to play bigger bodies. So this is kind of like my compromise for a lot of builds. Ended up being pretty okay. I also want to say it's a shame that this card is not Impel Down. I don't know why they didn't. It's probably for balancing purposes or the fact that it's a purple card, so you can't put it with the jailers. You have to be like one of the prisoners, so that's fine or whatever. But man, I really wish this card was an Impel Down card. It'd make it way better in a lot of ways. But you can do some funny things where, let's say you are at 5 Dawn. So if you went second, you play a 2-drop, you ramp up to 3, start your turn at 5. You can play Bond Clay for 4, get the ramp and active, and then play another 2 cost, bounce it back to hand. So you'll be going up to 8 Dawn very, very quickly if you do so. 9 Dawn very, very quickly, right? Because you go from 5 to 6 to 7 to 9. So that's very helpful. So some good 9 costs that exist are Kaido and Mihawk. Both these cards on curve just help you do some really good things. Obviously, like the Bond Clay is a bit of an extension. So if you don't see that play, you will start the turn at 8 Dawn, which Borsalino is a good backup for that. Since you're ramping so much, most cards that your opponent are playing at that time are 4 or less. So being able to get that Borsalino early is strong too. So I think those are some pretty good sequences. Obviously, our backup play is to go Sadie on 3 Dawn. If you end up going first, you can play one one of your Mino Jailer Beasts from there, and then you can bounce the Sadie back to your hand. You go from 3 to 4. You start the next turn at 6, and then after that you go to 9 Dawn from the additional ramp if you have the time for it. So I think that's all very good. Ended up playing Gravity Blade a little bit since it was pretty good for removing board, at least like getting rid of 2 cards. It's a little expensive, but we get a lot of Dawn flexibility comparatively, so that's not too bad for us. We're playing the Champion Rifle, which we'll probably switch out later, and then also the Impel Down, which this does help us find some pieces, which is really nice, and I think can be very helpful for the deck too. So not anything too crazy. I think this is like an okay like starter build for it. But again, like you'll notice when you play this deck, like you kind of have to commit to one color or the other more times than not, and the blue color might be just the better one outright, since you do like it has a little bit more late game with like the with some of the pieces you get from it. But I don't know, this is just the build I had. I'm sure yours looks way different, but this is what we did. And they also had this like Animal Kingdom build, which wasn't terrible, to be honest. It's going to be what our example game is going to be based off of. We just have like access to like we don't do anything on Impel Down package besides just run our good cards. So our 2-drop Domino, our Bellet and Sadie, or Sadie. So our 2Ks, which again can just be bounced to do some early ramping if we need to, and then also the Bond Clay effect as well. And then we just have like our top end of having our our Animal Kingdom cards, which is great. Being able to use like Borsalino, 9-drop Kaido, or even 10-drop Kaido late game just means we get so much advantage on our opponent. And then we have like our removals with like the Red Rock and then also the Gum Gum Jet Gatling at 4 copies because we have a lot on the top end. So this honestly looks like a lot like a blue purple croc list, and it kind of shows it. Because of that, it kind of has a little bit of the issues that the blue purple croc deck has, or sorry, blue purple Kaido list, blue purple Kaido, where you are so good at getting up to your ramp, but you have to spend like time and energy to do that you're behind on board a lot of the time, and you're only a 4-life leader, which means that your opponent's gonna get like enough pressure on you that even though like you can win on the next game, you're usually like 1 or 2K short from surviving that last onslaught. So it's a bit of a tough deck to play balance, but it was a lot of fun, and one that I also recommend trying out if you haven't. So anyways, those are my 2 builds. I think Hannibal has a lot of potential for even like a blue center build. I know this one is a little bit more on the purple side, but it's really interesting. It's very fun, and I'm glad I was able to do some testing with it. So anyways, those are my example builds, and let's go to our example game. All right, here is our example match on the OP Bounty ladder. It's against Mayo using the red-purple Trafalgar Law, which I think is going to be one of the strongest decks going into EB01 in the meantime. This deck is a little bit tricky to play against it just because we are, again, a 4-life leader, and red-purple Law has a lot of aggression there. So we're going to just start off going first. Nothing to really do, but we do find our 2-cost, ramper with the Domino with their leader effect, so we are going to keep that in hand. They're going to play a Gordon and pass it right back to us. We're going to play out the Domino for 2 there after attacking for 6 just in case something happens out of that life. Play it for 2, end of turn, bounce it back to our hand, and we get a 1 and a Dawn back. So that's pretty much just how the early game for this deck works. It's pretty nice being able to do that. We're going to take a 6K, find a 9-drop Kaido off of our life, and they are going to play the Zoro off of there. And real quick, I was thinking about playing the combo with the Bond Clay, but I think removing that Zoro Joro was just a little bit more important for us. So we did use the King there to get rid of that. Swung another 5K into life, and we're going to see if they take that or not. But this King's pretty strong, especially since it's a 7K, which means it's a little bit trickier for them to be able to get out of it. With just one Gordon, they need another one. They're going to attack 5K into us real quick again, and I'm going to use the Bond Clay because I don't think that's going to be used, and it's very easy for them to remove it in this matchup, so I think that is a little bit important. They're going to play the Useless Kid, which is a little bit expensive for us to get out of, but we might decide to do so. We're going to take a second life, go down to 2. We're going to use the Red Rock to bottom deck that as well. We're going to attack 5 into the Penguin and Sachi, and we're going to see if they are going to take that one as well. They're going to use a Beppo to get out of it. We're going to try 7 this time, making sure it goes through and just pass with 1 open since we do have the Gum Gum event right there in hand. So again, like this is kind of a bit of a weird matchup for it because they do play a lot of 4 drops out. It can prevent an attack out too, but again, they go so wide, and them return Gordon back to their hand isn't too terrible of an idea. So they're going to go make this a 4K as well. We are going to just 1K out of that as well. And then they do have quite a few Dawn left to work with. Let's see what they decide to do. So they are going to play the Bond Clay to ramp up. They're going to play Gordon to get another minus there, and then use the ramp or the bottom deck skill from the leader, and then have another copy of Reiju, which was pretty upsetting to see that much. So we are going to play the Gum Gum. They have to return one card back into their hand. So hopefully the Bond Clay. I think that one's a little bit more obnoxious later, but yeah, they instead get the Reiju back in their hand to do some more drawing later. But we do get the Borsalino out, being able to bottom deck the Bond Clay, going 7 into the 5, which they will have to try to 2K out of, 2K, 1K out if they want to keep that around, which they might want to because they will be able to draw again at the start of the next turn. So they are going to do that. We're going to pass again and go to, I believe, 9 Dawn at the end of this turn. So they only have 5, so nothing too crazy, but we are down to 2 life. And this is kind of where the red-purple law takes off, because if they have any copies of Kitten Killer, they do a lot of damage to us pretty quickly. But I think this is in a pretty good spot for us, comparatively to a lot of other matches I've had with the red-purple law. So deciding what they want to do there. We do have the Kaido to play afterwards, are, again, like a Gum Gum Red Rock, which Gravity Blade may have been like the better card for this matchup specifically, and we might want to change it out for that. But it looks like they're really, really thinking about what they want for this one. All right, they're going to attack with the Reiju, go 5. We're going to use the Domino 1K to get out of it. We got 4 cards left in our hand, and then they're going to go 7 into our leader real quick. So I think we're going to have to take this. We could get out of it, but we are going to take it out of our life, go down to 1. And then they're going to play the Gordon and the Raise Max, so they're going to use a lot of resources to get rid of this. But they do have the Kitten Killer, which I think we do have to go down to 1, unfortunately. So that is kind of where we are there. So they don't have a lot of Dawn, which is the good fortunate thing about this. We're going to go 5 into their Reiju. And they're going to think about this. They're going to 2K out. We're going to use this to get rid of the Kitten Killer. And then I could swing into the Reiju. This is maybe a mistake for me, but my thought process was I needed to win this match. I need to get out of this. There's some chances if they attack with leader first, I could cheese a win with the Gum Gum as well. And we do have a good amount of counter in hand. We've got a good amount of 2Ks. We're going to 1K out of that real quick. They have 4 Dawn to work with as well. They're going to spend 8 there, so we are going to 2K out of that one. And then, unfortunately, very, very close, we are going to just get to 8K and not get out due to the Kitten Killer, because that card is going to be a real menace, I think. That card is going to be very strong in EB01, especially under red-purple law. But that's kind of the match, and just kind of showing like how I think this deck is really, really close to being good. We're usually like 1 or 2K out from being able to kind of win on the crackback, but we just never really get there. So I don't know, maybe just my build is bad, but I think the deck is really neat, and just the fact that we can play Hannyabal without even running the impel down stuff, just kind of having the 2 and 3 drops to be able to get the ramp train started. There are some really good like end game stuff we can do as well. So anyways, that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Let me know what you think of this deck and the build in general. If you got your own build, I'd love to see it, and I'll catch you all next time.